Today we are going to start another writer, that is John Keats. John Keats. You may be knowing in history, he belongs to Romantic period. A romantic poet he was. And he died a premature death. If you look at the dates of his birth and death, 1795 and 1821. Only at the age of 25 or 26. Clear? Now, but in these, and I think he started poetry from 1817. From 1817, he started to write poetry. Now, in these 4 years of his literary career, he produced wonders. Wonders in the sense that even after 500 or 600 years we have been in him, if the writer is alive after centuries, it means that there is something. Yes, he is a classic. But there were different hurdles in his life. And his life was very much miserable. He led a very sorrowful life. Hardships were there, and miseries were there, difficulties were there, and then the criticism of other critics were there. But mostly, that is what I say, that it might be because of jealousy that the other writers have criticized him. Because in a very young age, if a writer produces something great, so all the other writers might become jealous with it. That you know. Now, in the beginning of his life, when he was a boy, rather I should say, so far he was belonging to a very poor family. Poor family, he was of a humble origin. Humble origin means to belong to a very poor family. So he started his career as an assistant and apprentice to a surgeon. Apprentice or assistant. Assistant to a surgeon. The Barchanas की डॉक्टर तो अगर नंबर वालों और की सबको ले जाते those have your apprentice when you shagird apprentice means shagird, but there is a difference between apprentice and a student. Student who, like you are students, you are learning from your teachers and from the books also. And apprentice is that one who is learning the skill, all in the mechanics, the workshop the apprentice fee. These skills the guy. See the guy? Skill. So he was like that one, an apprentice to a surgeon. But the call of poetry was that much strong that he said goodbye to that profession and completely devoted himself to writing poetry. And after 1817, I told you, he becomes the man of letters. The man of letters. He cannot and he does not do anything only to write poetry. Although there were a lot of hurdles in his life. Hurdles, you know. Obstacles are hurdles. You know that. So, one was that he was loving a girl, Fanny Brown. Fanny Brown is the name of his beloved. Fanny. But there was disappointment in his love. Very much unfortunate and luckless in the matters of his love with Fanny Brown he was. Although he has got some friends, for example, Hazlitt was there. Hazlitt, that was one of his best friends, and another was there that Charles Brown was there, with whom he was living like a parasite. Because I told you there was also a charge against him. We will be coming about the charges that he was blamed for. So one obstacle and hurdle was that his love was not a successful one. He was disappointed. Number two, he was the victim of a very fatal disease, and that is tuberculosis, if you know that. TB, the disease of consumption. Fatal disease was there, and that disease is called consumption, or you can say TB. TB, tuberculosis. Consumption, it consumes your health. Day by day, you will become weaker and weaker. Your physical strength and your physical body, it degenerates day by day, weakens and weakens day by day. So that is called consumption disease in that sense, that it consumes your health. So he was the victim of that disease also. And that was an inborn disease. That was heredity. Heredity, you coming from the parents. Yes. Because his mother and his brother, they were also the victim of this disease. And another hurdle was that he faced a very premature death. Premature death means before time. He died only at the age of 25 or 26. And it is also said that had he been lived for 60 or 70 years, he might have surpassed Shakespeare and other giants of literature. But he was not given the time. He was not given the time. So these were but a few hurdles in his life. And then the criticism of the people. He wrote a poem, Endymion. The name of one of his poems, that is Endymion. A great poem it is, Endymion. So it was criticized by the people. And some of the critics of the view that it was because of that criticism that he becomes the victim of this fatal disease, tuberculosis. Criticism from the people. It is corrupted. Look at the poem, it is in itself a great poem, and today we are reading it. And the poem begins with the memorable lines. A thing of beauty is a giant forever. And this very line you might have seen in the competitive examination papers. That you are supposed to write an essay only on this one line. A thing of beauty is a giant forever. Its loveliness increases, it will never pass into nothingness, but still will keep above quiet for us can sleep, full absolute dreams. These are the opening lines of this book. It is the name of a god in Greek mythology, indeed, the name of a god. So when this was published, so it was criticized. It was harshly criticized by that A literary circle was there. Literary circle. There were, I think, 3 or 4 poets or writers were there, and whenever some poem was to be published, so they were there to be cited. One was, I think, Severn was there, and Kevron was there, and I don't remember properly, but after all, when the poem was published, so it was criticized very harshly. At that time, there were Blackwood and Quarterly reviews. Blackwood and Quarterly. They were reviews. Reviews mean they were journals, magazines. Journals जो कहते हैं ना, journal, रसाले, quarterly वो पकाल के शाये के दे, यानी 4 महीने बाद या 3 महीने बाद, 3 महीने बाद, सही है ना? नो सलोर वाला वो पकाल के रात ले, नो पते कि जो कल रहते थे आपको ये दाशो, हाँ? तो लोगों ने बहुत क्रिटिसाइज कर दिया, तो उस वजह से भी I have already told you that so far he was a very young man, a very young boy. Yeah, the youngest one, like you. Huh? At the age of, when he was, at 25 years age, he was died. Yes. And he wrote this poem in 1818. 18? So what is his age now? From 95. 20 or 22 years of age, he has written this poem. So I told you, and that is what my claim is, that it might be because of jealousy. Take the gun. Yes. That in that much a young age, if someone is able to produce that kind of work, so the other writers may get jealous. Yes. That is what I say. Barhal, because the poem in itself, that is the classic one, the classic. And then there were different allegations and charges. You know it, or charges, you know, जो इल्जाम किसी पर लग जाता है ना, इल्जाम, charges, allegations. तो उसमें एक ये है कि he lack of character, lack of character. Lack of character means that he was not able to earn or to get bread for himself. He was living with his friend Charles Brown like a parasite. So that was a blame against him, that he cannot earn money and earn bread for himself. Earn bread for himself. Clear? So if a man, he is suffering from that disease, so how can he be able to work and to get a profession? That is something natural. Okay. Although in his letters, here is a collection of letters. You might have read it, or if you did not read it, you should read it. Keats' love letters. Keats' love letters. This is the collection of his love letters to Fanny Brown. Fanny Brown. So, ये है lack of character and then sensuousness. Sensuousness. And he is very impatient and very passionate sensuousness. Now, sensuousness, that is a quality which is also referred to by John Milton, but he was not criticized for that because John Milton was a great scholar. He was a giant. John Milton, he interprets poetry as to be sensuous and impassioned. Sensuous and impassioned. That is the definition and the interpretation of John Milton about poetry. Like that definition, when it is followed by John Keats, he was criticized by the people that he is a sensuous man. Of sensuous or sensual, there are two words. Sensuous, like this one, and sensual. Ab sensual you have, that is a negative word. It has got nothing to do with sensuousness. It mostly refers to sexuality, to sex, sex. So that is something else, and this is something. Sensuousness means that his poetry appeals to your five senses. One of your five senses must be attracted when you are reading his poetry. Five senses, you know. Eyesight is there, and touch is there, and smell is there, and hearing is there. So five senses they appeal. तो ये है, और इसके अलावा इस ब्लैक कोट और क्वार्टरली रिव्यू में इसका एक पर्सनल लेटर फेनी कुरान को जो इसने लिखा था वो उठाकर शाया किया गया फॉर द सेक ऑफ क्रिटिसिज्म. अब पर्सनल लाइफ देट इज समथिंग एल्स ऑफ समवन और लिटररी लाइफ बिल्शे ठीक है ना तो ده یو سړي पर्सनल लाइफ راواله او هغه اپ پبلش کړي نو لکه په لو لیټر کې یو سړي سړي لو لیټرز کې ټول پیشنس دي کنه پیشنس دي ایموشنز دي پکې صحیح ده کنه په هغه لو لیټر کې خو زما په خیال چې لکه سړی بس سم ځان نه غلام جوړ کیو بس پر یو خو کې وته ځان نو ورته یو مینت او زاره ورڅ پکې وی کنه نو چې دا هغه لو لیټر یې پبلش کړ نو وګوره تاسو دې پوهټو ورې دا ته نه غټ پوهټ ولې غواړي دې لیټر ته وګوره دې کیسې دي دا غلام دی the slave of his passions the slave of his patience دا هغه باندې به خلکو ډېر سخت ډیسایډ فارمات کار کوي So these were different difficulties and hardships in his life. Different charges and different obstacles in his life. It means that his life was full of miseries and sorrows and difficulties were there. Hurdles were there. And he himself says that if he was in a good state of his heart and of his physical body, he would have got a profession for himself. He would have earned bread for himself. ठीक है ना ये दोस्त सर और बेटा सुनो से चार्ल्स ब्राउन सर ठीक है ना चार्ल्स ब्राउन आवाज सुनो से लो ठीक है लोकल को भी दे एग्जाम में गोशी देना प्रोटीन नहीं चाहिए चले बहरहाल these were the different things about John Keats. अब उनके वर्ष की तरफ हम आ जाए तो जिस तरह इंडीमियन के बारे में मैंने बताया कि that is a classic an epic another Hyperion. Hyperion is the name of another word Hyperion, yes. It also refers to Greek mythology, the name of a god, Hyperion, and then there is the fall of Hyperion, another poem. One poem is that Hyperion, and then there is the fall of Hyperion. The fall of Hyperion. Lamia, there is another name, Lamia. The name of his poet. Lamia. Lamia. There are some other odes, ode to Nightingale and ode to Psyche and ode to the West, no, ode to an Grecian urn, ode an Grecian urn. So some of the odes we will also read in the class because they are included in your course. So these are about his works. Now the elements of his poetry are the philosophy of his poetry. There is yani, if I say that he was the poet of beauty, he was the poet of beauty. So in almost all of his poems, he talks about beauty because he was the poet who was following the aspect of literature that is art for the sake of art. Art for the sake of art. And he was writing poetry only for its own sake. So, if he is the poet of beauty, دا خو پیژنې که یو دا ده او یو بله دوه خبرې دي په لیټریچر کې بعضې خلک لیټریچر چې کوم دی په دې وجه باندې لیکي art for the sake of art او بعضې خلک لیکي art for the sake of life دا تاسو چا نه دي لیکي دا څویم سمستر دی third art for the sake of life دا هو کوم بل نه څه بهر حال دا پکار چې تاسو په دې پیوي art for the sake of life ٹھیک ده کنه so it means that poetry and novels and dramas must be written to moralize the life and to show the people how to lead your life. There is a kind of didacticism. Didacticism, you know, a kind of teaching and a kind of instructing the people, to instruct the people how to live. Art for the sake of life. But a group of literary people, they believe in this thing. That there must be this thing like Matthew Arnold. Matthew Arnold, your poet, aga devane there that believe that there must be instructions, teachings, advices, consultations in the writing of a writer. That he may learn how to live. क्योंकि मैथ्यू आर्नल्ड का जो अपना definition of poetry है, the function of poetry, he says that how to live and to moralize the people, to make the people moral. Moral means good, that they may lead a very a good life in this world. Or the we art for the sake of art, only for the sake of beauty, for the sake of that thing that you are writing about. You are describing the beauty and the other qualities, the merits and demerits of that thing. It is not for the sake. आगे के बस didacticism या से instructions या से advices या हर कोई तब पकड़ने से तू लोग दाखा पर पकड़नी सही रहेगा ना art for the sake of art. No da matadin which the whole of the writers of literature, literary writers, they are divided into two. No yo group چې کوم دی یو نه فالو کوي او بل فالو کوي هغه ته بیا ټیچر ورته یا ورته ځکه چې کوم ټیچرز دا فالو کوي کوم رائټرز دا فالو کوي کوم دا بهرحال دا خو لیکن کیټس کوم دی ورته دی بهر ټیک ده the element of his poetry, he was the poet of beauty, poet of beauty. And he searches beauty everywhere. Huh? He searches beauty everywhere. And he says that there must be nothing in the mind of a man except the thought of beauty. And all the time a man should think about beautiful things. ذكر ديني أنت تمومي كنا شيء think that beauty is there forever. لكن هذا मतलब ده है. See your beautiful thing. Yeah, your beautiful or sweet song توري كنا. No كبيان لس بينزل لس كلا بعد ما قطع ترايش كنا. No تبيان enjoy كيا. فزين كيا ترايش. Jadi yo program ni diberi ya yo gazal chavi yo gana chavi ayare pake yo ashtashi diberi so ke pake diberi yo ashtashi no ke biya diberi wa pas ma ta tara yeshi biya diberi jayenge na de ta ne je te ga beauty je correct yes and it slowly increases ragega che kama beauty da or kama attraction da noram jeti saka che ga mungu gana the word of imagination is more beautiful than the real one. Imagination which mungkin suju ko wala kada se ka agade khasha chekele reality tara shi ala shi ya no badal ke na pas ke chekum suju ke shi na ha da daga poem ne kana I think the poet of beauty vyala da poet ke chekum bal element de agade Hellenism ستوي ها اصل की दायो बेडरूम दे देशा होमर यो क्लासिकल राइटर दे पोएट्री होमर ग्रीक पोएट दे पहानी अगली क्लियर यो पोएम इलियड दायो यो पोएम दी इलियड एपिक पोएम दे अगली की ग्रीक ट्रोजन वार्शी यो फिल्म जो शो ग्रीक ट्राई यो इंग्लिश पोएम दे अगर पते भाई को शो Helen yo jera arriba a 10 years long war 10 years long war tikta payojine ba the most beautiful girl of the world most beautiful women the arriba jungle the Greek or the tribe must be tikta the tribe on the Greek yo kabila la sahi de or Greece pakpala wale your Tashkapata, that is the name of country and of a nation. Nadibaro, Pahelan Manajan, Laskala. I heard about heroes, Apakibia murder video. There's just destruction Pakishavia, try to come alaka, come city to Akul, Tabashira, collapse, Pamashira. Then they held it to Majaban. The Hellenism चित्रता की कम देर दा it refers to Greek mythology क्या classical Greek mythology नो लेकिन तब पते poems की मुंगता दगा इशार दे चला कम poem नमूना मामूली कल्ला Hyperion or the Endymion दा हो it is based on Greek mythology दा हो very simple or clear लगा नो दा यानी in his poetry we can find allusions or references to Greek mythology or classical Greek mythology. The Hellenism da मतलब वो समझता खबर रहा है ताकि ब्याज पे की पोएट्री में तो ब्याज ट्रू के वा ना आगे के ब्याज देवानी वो पोएम दे दा ग्रीक ट्रोजन वार दा लगा the swan W.B.Yeats वाला पोएम दे ताकि पे पते बैकग्राउंड बने का पोएम भी पहले ग्रीक ट्रोजन वार बने सही है हेलेनिज्म इज देयर ब्याज देवानी वो फुल इल्जाम एस्केपिज्म Escapism story. Yes. To run away, like as you know, his life was full of hardships and miseries and difficulties and sorrows and despondencies. He did not want to live his life. He wanted to run away from this real life and take shelter into the life of, into the world of Nightingale sometimes. Whenever he writes a poem on Nightingale, yes. So he is considered as an escapist. He wants to run away from this harsh realities of life and take shelter in somewhere else. So that is called escapism. Clear? Then there is another thing. Medievalism. As he was impressed by some Renaissance writers and from Homer and Spencer, he was influenced. In Keats was influenced from Spencer and Homer and other Renaissance writers. So he also refers to those writers and the works of these writers and to medieval period. Huh? To medieval period. These are but a few elements of his words. If a question comes in your paper that it is said that Keats is a Hellenistic writer, support your answer from the poems you have read. Non abbiamo pacchettato referenze sobre illusion, perché torture ci gripe, e dite, ma come sono poemi che di tre da non abbiamo chiamato anche. See the poet has beauty. Question suppose rise. See the beautiful lines of escapism by the poem. The poem was a case like for example, Nightingale poem which away, for I will fly to thee, not charioted by the Bacchus and his parts, but on the viewless wings of poesy. He wants to fly away with the nightingale, to forget about the harsh realities of life, and wants to escape into the world of nightingale. In the original lines, literally test what again. A test last time we were sharing. Set and two speeches in the or the audio writer of the Aham line quotes now that that. Now coming to the poem. First thing,